Probably gonna take a minute.
Looks like Melinda Perino Beb said hello, everyone.
There you are. You're up.
I'm up. 23 seconds into it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Frank from Old Town Coleman, thank you for joining us. Well, I can't complain enough about YouTube. It's not possible for me to see what this is going to look like before actually doing it. So if things go wrong, please excuse me. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get better as time goes on. So I got a few things I'd like to talk about this evening, and if you have any questions, you can text them in, and my wife will let me know what they are, and then I can hopefully answer them for you. First one out there is Rob Roberts out there. Rob, if you're there, let me know. Hope he is. The first thing I do is I'd like to thank him. If you can see this coffee cup here. This is the coffee cup that I had made for my convention that I did, the Coleman Convention in 2006 that I hosted in Yucca Valley. And through the course of events and moving a couple times from California to Idaho, I lost my cup. And I didn't have one, and he found I didn't have one, and he was kind enough to send me one of his. And Brother Rob, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Rob hosted the 2007 Coleman Convention, and I went out to Tennessee and saw that and had a great time there. So anyway, Brother Rob, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'll get back with you on that one. I'm almost at 5,000 subscribers on the channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You're really helping build this channel. I want to leave our children and our grandchildren with a means to fix that Coleman lantern in the future, long after we're not here anymore. And so I'm trying to build towards that, and I'm trying to come up with ways. I got the website paid out for about the next 12 years, some of it. The hosting fees I can't, but I'm trying to get this to be a long range idea here, and hopefully we can make it. And I really appreciate the support I get from coffee and from people watching on YouTube and looking at the website. Thank you so much for that. Troubleshooting tips. I get a lot of emails, a number of emails each week with various questions. One of them I've noticed I've had about 5 for the same question over the last 2 weeks. And so this is what it was. They all email me and say, I can't get my lantern to shut off. One of them, I believe, was a stove, but I can't get my lantern to shut completely off. I'll turn the valve all the way off and it will sit there and just barely burn. Well, that's always the same problem. And my wife's trying to move the camera. Is that what you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You weren't saying.
All right. So if you have a lantern or a stove that has that problem, this is has gone wrong. This is the valve stem. This one's out of a single mantle, looks like 242. But this, when you turn it off, you're screwing it in clockwise and it seats inside of the valve body. And that's what the little conical end here is for. Well, if someone before you has tried to manhandle the stove or the lantern and really cranked on it when they shut it off, what's going to happen is this conical tip here is going to go inside of the valve body a little bit too far, and it's going to create a nice little ring on the end of the valve stem. And that little ring will go all the way around it, and it will be a big enough ring where you won't be able to completely shut it off. Fuel's under pressure, remember. It will be able to go past that little groove in there and up into the burner, and it will keep burning. It won't burn very bright, but it will keep burning. So that's what it is. Now, the way you can fix that is, I've had a guy put one on his lathe. He actually had a lathe that he could put it on small enough. Another guy just took a valve stem and put it in his drill, turned on his electric drill or cordless drill, and then just took a piece of 600 or 800 grit sandpaper on the tip and very, very gently try to get that groove out of there. Now, I'll be making a video on this later. I've got to figure out how to do this on the 242. if it happens there, because of course you can't take the knob off. So getting this thing to turn, I don't know if I'm gonna just have to do it like that or what, but anyway, if you have a stover lantern that won't shut off, there's gonna be your problem right there. Okay, another question I got in. One gentleman wanted to know what the difference between a 220 and a 228 are. So think for a second. What's the difference between a 220 and a 228? I'll have a sip of my coffee here. There are only three differences. The ventilator on 228 is obviously much bigger, a couple inches bigger in diameter. Correct, the hat, the ventilator. The second difference would be the frame / bail, because the bail needs to be wider in the right spots to go over that bigger ventilator. And for those lanterns that are stamped or marked, it will have a stamp on the frame rest that says it's either a 228 or a 220, whatever model it is. So if you have a 220F, it'll say 220F. If you have a 228F, it'll say 228F. Next one, Monty from Golden Valley, Arizona. Excuse me, I'm gonna put my glasses on here. How can I tell the difference between lamps that run on kerosene and those that run on white gas? That's a great question, Ronnie, or Monty. That kind of made me stop and think. Visually, how could you tell? Well, really the only way you could tell is if the lamp or lantern had a preheater cup on it, and that would tell you that it is or was a kerosene burning appliance, because the kerosene requires a preheater cup, much preheating, much more than a gasoline appliance. Now, if someone took a Carol lamp and took that preheater off, unless it was marked, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. You could pull it apart. Vintage lamps and lanterns all had fuel pickup tubes, so you wouldn't even be able to tell by that. But if it had a fuel and air tube inside, then it obviously would not be a kerosene. It would be a gasoline powered appliance. So really the only way you could tell, I guess you could pull the generator out and look at the number or the letter on the gas tip. That would also tell you if it was a kerosene gas tip. But basically the only way you'd really be able to tell is by looking for that preheater cup, and that would tell you. You can, the way I told what his was, and he had a gas lamp, was we figured out what model number it was, and then I did the research from the model number and found out it was a gas lamp for him. Okay, next question. Doyle on YouTube wanted to know, and this is another very interesting question. If you find new, never used items, do you keep them that way or enjoy being the first to use it? I have a few collector items and they just sit in the closet. Whoever gets them when I pass gets to be the first to use them. I am no longer a fan of keeping new and never used items for the next person. Leave it fired or no? Well, it really all depends on what you want. If you're buying this appliance for resale value, then obviously you would never want to fire it, because a unfired lantern new in a box that is quite vintage is worth a lot more money than one that has mantles on it and has obviously been fired. Although if it's in good condition, it's still going to fetch quite a sum of money for you. But an unfired one is quite special. Now, it is my opinion that Coleman lanterns were made to use. So I would have probably no problem at all firing that puppy up and using it. Now, if it was an old quick light from the early 20s, no, I wouldn't fire that up. That's special, and it's been so long, and no, I couldn't do that. But if you find a 50s, 60s, 70s lantern, yeah, I'd probably fire it up. And that's just me. I don't know. It's up to you. It's your lantern. Just do what you like with it. And, if you want to just take it out of the box and set it up on a shelf, you can do that. Another gentleman just prior to this, he had, I believe, a 220J and a 220, I think it was a 228J. And the 220 was in really nice condition, and he wanted to use it as a user. But the 228, I believe it was unfired. And he asked me the same question. I said, well, if it was me, I'd fire it up because I'd want to use it. He decided not to, and he was going to just put it on a shelf and leave it unfired up there. So, that's up to him. I would like to give you a few updates on the website. I know many of you are out there waiting for the pump gas versus Coleman fuel video. Let me give you an update on that. So a year and a half ago, I think I started that. I got so tired of hearing people on Facebook and hold on.
We have some questions if you want to take more questions.
I will.
Okay.
Okay. Where was I? Before I was interrupted by my wife. So I got really tired of hearing people on Facebook and some of the bulletin boards saying using gasoline, unleaded gasoline in a Coleman lantern is really dangerous. It'll explode. It'll start on fire and all of this stuff. And I just got tired of hearing it. So I said, you know what, rather than try to say, you're not right, what I'm going to do is I'll do a test. And one of the things people always say is unleaded gasoline will make your generator clog up just like that. So basically what I wanted to prove is that one, regular pump gas is safe, and two, that although it does certainly make the generator plug up faster, was it significant enough to actually worry about. So I started that test, and it took almost a year for I used two 200-day lanterns, and it took almost a year for the one that was running pump gas to die. And it ran for 66 tanks, which is approximately 660 hours. So it took 660 hours for it to foul that generator. So I didn't take it apart. It's still sitting in my shop. I'm waiting to be taken apart. They both are, actually. But the other thing I always heard was if you put pump gas in a fountain and just let it sit for a period of time, it will really start to corrode badly. While I'm testing that theory, I know back in the 70s, I can remember my elder brother complaining about water in the gas. Okay, yeah, if you got water in the gas and you let it rot for a couple months, then yeah, it's going to do some damage. But the quality of gas, I was using Costco gas, up to 10% ethanol, and I trust that as quality gasoline. So I just wanted to find out. So those lanterns are still both sitting in the shop, and pretty soon I'm going to get my camera and get down inside of that fountain, look around in there and see what it looks like, and then I'm going to finish the video because, as you know, I'll tell you now, it is not true that stuff is any more dangerous than pump gas, or pump gas is no more dangerous than Coleman fuel or camping fuel. And 660 hours of burning is an awful long time to be worrying about saving a few bucks on a generator and buying the more expensive fuel. But we'll work all those costs out and everything else. Another thing I've been considering, I got a zillion Coleman videos I want to do. I got a really cool pump or a lantern clamp in the shop that a gentleman sent me, and I want to make a video on that. Darcy's lamp book, I want to make a video on that, and then I still have all the other rebuild videos to make. So I just got a ton of videos to do. But I also want to kind of branch out on this. One thing I've learned from doing this and talking to all you nice people out there is a lot of us have a lot in common. And I love hunting. I love fishing. I just got back from a fishing trip. You might see the video. I smoked the trout this afternoon, and oh boy, it's good. But a lot of us had a lot of things in common. So it'll probably be something called off topic, and it's just something I'll go off topic. And I'm thinking maybe this spring and summer and fall, I will do a video on vintage fishing lures that my father taught me to use on bass back in the 60s. And I still have many of those old lures, and I won't use those, but I will buy them off eBay to use them, and I'm sure they're still going to work. Bass don't know the difference. None of them are Rapalas. Things like Hawaiian wigglers and pikey minnows and eels and lots of fun stuff. I also wanted to do a video on my hair. I get a lot of comments on my hair. I look like Frank Zappa, or I look like, who's that, George Harrison. Well, those guys look like me. There's a reason my hair is long. There's 3 reasons my hair is long. And I'll get into a video on that because it's something that you might like to hear. Traveled, I do some traveling around North Idaho. It's really pretty here, very outdoorsy, and I'm thinking a lot of people might like it. I have a lot of friends that live in the South. Rob lives in the South, and I should have made a video this weekend of ice fishing. I know a lot of people have never been ice fishing, but it's really fun to walk out on the middle of a lake and bore a hole in 12 inches of ice and sit there and pull fish out of them. That one trout that I pulled out was a little over 2 pounds. He kind of came out of the whole breach. He was flipping and flopping, and his tail came out first, so it was kind of fun to watch him. But he's a real nice rainbow. Okay, so do we have any questions?
Oh, we do.
We do. We have lots of questions.
Yeah, we have
All right.
questions.
Well,
Okay.
can I see need to see some?
Well, I'm gonna read them to you because I figure it's probably easier to do that for you.
Okay.
Okay, so Jason asks, is there an easy way to get the frame nut off of a 220 without splitting your knuckles or grinding a wrench?
Who asked that, Jason?
Jason.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for the question. Yes, there is. Buy a mil-spec lantern. I don't have one here. If I'd have known you were going to ask that question, I certainly would have had it out here. But in a mil-spec lantern is a little wrench. It's about yay long, and the handle goes down, and then it flattens out, and that sits there, and it sits flat inside of the frame. And then where the frame comes up, that's where the angle comes in, and it fits right in there on that nut. And you just pull it and it loosens it right up. If you go to my video on double mantle lantern rebuild, the disassembly portion, you will see the one I'm having in there. And if you buy a mil-spec lantern, there is a part safe on the side of it, a cap about that big. And inside of there, unless someone already got it, you buy one of those, you're going to have your own wrench. And I believe there's somebody making them. I just read that someone is making them and they're out of stock at Old Coleman Parts. That's another place you can get it. I had a very dear friend of mine make one on his, I guess it was a CNC machine, made it out of brass for me. It's just beautiful, but I don't use that one. I use the one I got out of a mil-spec lantern. So that's where you get that. Got another question?
Yes, we do. Let's see. Do you have videos going over Coleman lamps, house lamps, for someone that knows zip?
House lamps, yes. My lamp videos are coming. They will start with Darcy's lamp book. And actually, one of the next videos I'm going to be making is the theory of lighting, because lighting a lantern is sometimes terrifying to those that don't know how to do it. I remember, just like it was yesterday, what it was like to light a Coleman lantern for the first time. But lighting a very, very old torch lighting lamp or lantern is completely different than lighting an instant light. So I'll be covering that. So yeah, I'll be dealing a lot with lamps, and then I will be getting into rebuilding a quick light lamp at a later time too. So yes, I will be getting into lamps because I had lit a number of Coleman lanterns and thought it was really cool. But the first time I got a quick light lamp lit up and had the shade on it, it was like, wow, this is really cool. So they are very special to me. And yeah, I'll definitely be doing that. Okay.
Ben would like to know if there's a CQ valve packing replacement.
Yes, I believe, if you didn't hear the question, he wants to know if there is a valve stem packing for a CQ lamp. Yes, I believe, and I'd have to confirm this, but I believe the valve stem packing from a 425 stove will fit a CQ lamp. You can go on oldcolemanparts.com, and I think you just search packing and look for the smaller of the packings. A 200A lantern, a 242, and the 220, 228 series, all those lanterns use a larger valve stem packing, but a 425 stove and I believe a quick light use the smaller one. and I believe they use the same one. Now on a quick light lamp, and it's one of the things that I'll cover on the rebuild. In fact, I'm corresponding with a gentleman now that's got one that they pinned those. And I'm working on a slick way to get that pin out of the valve stem. That's how you get those, everything out the back side of those, you have to get that pin out. So, but as an answer to your question, yes, I believe that there is a smaller valve stem packing.
Okay, and Matt is asking, when is too much leak by unacceptable on a check valve?
It's kind of up to you. So if you give your lantern 30 pumps and you set your finger on it and it just barely goes up, then you probably get away with that. If you give it 30 pumps and put your finger on it and it just throws it up like that, that's probably too much. Remember, when you turn the pump clockwise, you're locking that off, and you should have absolutely nothing coming out at that time. So that would be in a safe condition. But what the check valve mainly is for is while you're pumping and manipulating your hand to get that shut off, you don't want the air leaking out of it or the pressure leaking out of there. So, if it's nice and slow, it'll give you time to shut the pump off before you lose all the pressure in your fountain. You're good to go. But if it's coming out real fast, no. I would either try to clean that check valve or pull it out and clean it, replace it, whatever you would like to do. Okay? Couple more?
Oh, yeah. Peter says he has a 1992 Powerhouse lantern, and it has lots of rust in the pump tube. The lumpy rust keeps getting up the pump, I guess. Do we have a solution for that?
Well, yeah, you need to, looks like some time ago, that lantern was probably sitting over a source of water that got down into the pump and corroded all the paint inside of there. The best thing I could recommend you do is first pull the check valve out. And then if you get, so a rifle has a bore brush that goes down the rifle bore, and it also has a chamber brush that has the end of it, one end of it has, the bristles are much bigger around. And if you can get that kind of brush down in there and clean everything out, clean as much of the rust off as you can. You might slide a screwdriver in and out, start chipping all the rust and paint off it. Just get it as clean as you can. And then, you might want to soak it in vinegar for a little bit and try to get as much of that junk out of there as you can. And then maybe a nice coat of oil on the sides, just to, not thick oil, not enough to get down into the check valve, but enough to stop any future rust from occurring. And once you have it clean, as long as you can keep the rust from growing back, you'll be okay. But yeah, you definitely have to get all that stuff, because it's just going to continue to plug up your check valve. And over time, if you send enough of that crap up into that little air inlet tube on the other side of the check valve, you could plug it up too, and that wouldn't be good. You wouldn't like that at all. So that would be my recommendation on that. Just get that as clean as you can with a screwdriver, dental pick, that chamber brush, whatever it is you can get down in there with to get all that crap out. Okay?
Okay, so Matt, who you answered the question about the leak on the check valve, he's also wanting to know, if I replace the check valve, should I leave the O-ring for a 200A?
Coleman put out lanterns for many, many years without that check valve or without that gasket in there. I think the gasket's a good idea if you have it. If you go on my website, oldtowncoleman.com, if you go on there, you can find the size of that little O-ring, and I found it down at the True Value hardware store in their specialty parts department. I think it will work fine without it. They did for years and years and years, so I don't see why they wouldn't. But yeah, if you have it, I would put it back in.
Okay, and this is from Super Big Ev. Have you ever seen or personally stripped threads from over tightening a valve assembly on a fount?
No, I never have. I've never had to use valve sealer either. When I put a valve in the fount, I will place it in there and I will start turning it, and I will just turn it with my finger until it gets too tight to do that. And usually that occurs at about 270 degrees before the final resting position will be. And sometimes it's really a bear to get that last 90 degrees or so. Sometimes I even have to put it in a fount. But when I put it there, I've never had a leak. I've never, not one time, had to use thread sealer. I know some people like to use it. Coleman used it on some of their lanterns later in the years. I've talked to people that went into the factory and saw them using. In fact, there are pictures available of that. But I've never used it. But no, I have never ever stripped one out. Never had that happen. Had a lot of other dumb things happen, but not that.
Okay, Christopher would like to know, can you put Everclear 95% ethanol in a Coleman lantern?
95% ethanol? Ethanol eats plastic, from what I've read. So I would say, as long as your lantern is not a newer lantern, I think they came out with the newer lanterns in the late 80s, early 90s, the 288, that type of lantern. If you have a 200A or an old 220, all the internals are brass, and I believe you could absolutely run that type of fuel through them without problem. But if you have a 290, 295, 285, any of those, 282, 288, 286, those do have plastic parts. And I've heard that plastic doesn't do well with ethanol exposed to it. Now, I believe it was the 90s, probably the 90s, it was called corn lantern. It was a bright yellow lantern, and it ran on E85. And it's pretty rare now. You can check it out do a Google search or look for them on eBay. They sell for quite a bit. But that was called the corn lantern, and that was built to run on E85. I never took one apart. I don't know if it has brass insides or they are plastic or what. But yeah, I would say, based on what I've read about ethanol, you could run it as long as you were not dealing with plastic parts inside your lantern.
Okay, this is not a question. We still do have questions, but I just wanted to tell you that Jason's daughter was very excited that you used her picture.
Oh, for the video?
Yeah.
What a beautiful little girl, and what a wonderful picture. Thank you so much, sir, for that. That just made the hair stand up on the back of my neck when I saw that picture. I was like, yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Get those kids involved, get them off the damn iPhones and the iPads, and get them out in the forest and out in the wilderness to find. That's what I was talking about. I'm not going to go into it any more than that, but yeah, thank you so much for that. And I hope to meet her someday. That'd be really cool.
Okay.
Let's do 2 more questions. We've been on here a half hour. I don't want to keep too many people waiting. We got 50 people. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Okay,
I have to do this every other week or so.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Okay, so James wants to know, can you do a video on how to replace the packing for the tip cleaner with graphite ribbon packing from Old Coleman parts?
Say that again.
Can you do a video on how to replace packing for the tip cleaner with graphite ribbon packing from Old Coleman parts?
Tell you what, I'll research that. The tip cleaner, and I'm assuming you're talking about a single mantle lantern. The tip cleaner, 99% of the time, will be destroyed when you remove it from the valve. The end of it is kind of a little dog leg that fits into the eccentric block. And when you pull that whole thing apart, it usually straightens that out to a point where it really won't fit inside of the eccentric block properly. So if Old Coleman Parts is actually selling a packing replacement for the tip cleaners, I will look into that. And yes, I will absolutely do some research. And if that's the case, I will play with that and figure out how to do it, and I can make a video for you so you don't ruin anything. but really wasn't intended to come apart and then be put back together. When you do that, you want to put in a new tip cleaner stem. And yeah, if you wanted to, you could use one from a stove, a lighting lever stem, but that is 180 degrees out, and so you can use it, but you wouldn't want to. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I will look into that for you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Travis has a 1976 dual mantle lantern that has been sitting in the cellar for years. He put fresh mantles and fuel and it fires right up. How is that possible?
Well, if that lantern was stored properly when they put it away, then that's to be expected. Things that could have gone wrong when they did that, if they left the filler cap off a little too loose. If you live in a humid area, a lot of water could have got inside of the fountain, collected, and created a lot of rust. That happens a lot. Another thing that happens is spiders. They just crawl up inside the burners and they'll block everything. And that is probably the number one problem of trying to fire up an old lantern is the spiders and the bugs that got up into the burner and air intake tube and the burner tubes or burner tube. And yeah, they just wreak havoc on your lantern. But you know what? If it was put away, if the filler cap was tight enough to make it airtight seal in there, and you know your leather pump cup might still be in good shape, but as long as no bugs got to it, there's no reason whatsoever that thing won't fire right back up. It's what they were made to do. Last forever. Okay.
Yes, Joseph wants to know, are thorium mantles still made? If so, what brand?
Thorium mantles are still made, and I believe basically they're just foreign made. So I would say if you can get them from China, there's probably a pretty good chance that they're made of thorium. I know that Coleman mantles are not thorium anymore. They are made from, what is it? Not thorium, but can't remember the name of the chemical they're made with now. But Coleman doesn't sell them, hasn't since the 90s, I believe it is. And yeah, if you get foreign off-brand made mantles, they are still thorium. And some people like the thorium mantles better. There is a little more light produced by thorium than, oh, what's the name of it? I hate it when I can't remember something. That's what happens when you get old. Oh well. But yes, you can buy thorium mantles still. But peerless mantles, I believe, are not made of thorium, and they're great mantles. So you know, if you're looking for an alternate besides Coleman mantles, look at the peerless. They're great.
So one of the viewers says that Peerless still makes thorium mantles.
Oh, they are thorium? Okay.
Yeah, so maybe there's something there.
All right. Yitram, thank you, Christopher. Couldn't remember the name of it for my life. Yitram, yes. So I haven't confirmed, but I guess the thorium mantles are still being made, and yeah, they're great mantles, no doubt. Okay, let's do one more.
I might keep you on here longer. Let's see.
Don't forget, I got one fish left out in the smoker.
Oh yeah, the fish in the smoker. They turned out really good.
Oh, that's so good. Idaho trout, yum.
Okay, so Matt is asking, could you do a video on helicoils and on an old lamp valve? I stripped one and I can't find a replacement anywhere.
The coil?
On old lamp valve.
Coils on an old lamp valve.
Helicoils, Helicoils.
I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Well, maybe he can verify if he hears us talking.
And who is that again?
That is, oh boy, Matt.
Matt, please, can you maximum verbosity on that one? Let me know what you were talking about. I'm more than happy to try to answer it. What kind of fish? They were rainbow trout. Yeah, Idaho rainbows. So while we're waiting for Matt to get back with us on that last question, oh, did it already come in?
There is not come in, but
is a
silver
repair
mine.
for stripped threads. Oh, stripped threads. So I guess we're back to the fountain, the valve going in there. I just, there are things that I am wise enough to know that I don't know enough about to recommend to people, and that would certainly be one of them. I would recommend you go to a machinist, a good machinist. There is a gentleman on uh, Bruce Kuda, I believe his name is. He has a machine shop. He looks like a machinist, and he actually is making um, arc lanterns out of older QC lamp parts. And I bet he would be able to help you with that. That's beyond what I would do. So hopefully that answers his question, if that was what he was after.
So Silvermine 203 is asking, is there any advantage of running ethanol Vaseline in a stove or lantern versus regular gas containing 10% ethanol?
Not that I'm aware of, no. The only thing you need to worry about when you are running pump gas, first, I don't want to go into what I'm going to go into the video, but I will tell you, if you are running a $30 generator, you might want to consider using Coleman fuel. If you are I don't want you to burn up a good generator using regular pump gas in there. Pump gas will work just fine. And I just, what was the question? And I'll just answer that.
Is there any advantage to running
No,
10% ethanol?
Not that I'm aware
of. Just the dirty
of.
part.
Just, you're looking for additives. Run the lowest octane you can. Some high elevations, like in Colorado in the United States, have 85 octane, but most of us have to deal with 87. So run 87 octane in there. I can tell you, when I lived in the Yucca Valley, I had a very small backyard with a little bit of grass. It was the desert, so it was expensive to have grass, but I had a little grass area, and I ran my lawnmower on Coleman fuel at the time. So
you ran your lawnmower?
I ran my lawnmower on Coleman fuel all the time, and it ran just fine. Coleman fuel is gasoline, and it's just it's like 55 octane, something like that. So, but to answer your question, no, I know of no benefit to that. Good quality, regular pump gas will work just fine. Okay, while I'm waiting for Matt, let me show you a few things. If you go to oldtowncoleman.com and you go over on the right side, there's a little sales tab. Click on that tab, and I have just put this up. You can buy fun things from the Old Town Coleman gear store, like this really cool water bottle some of you commented on before. You can see on one side it has my logo on it. On this side it has a lantern on it. You can buy those. Coffee cups, all different kinds and sizes. This is a C lamp that I have all the parts identified on it, and on the other side it has the Coleman logo. You can also get this is my wife's shirt. It is a girl's tee, and it just has a 200 lantern on it. And this one is mine. This is a long sleeve shirt, and it's got my logo on the front where the pocket would go. And on the back, this is the 242B lantern that I use in the videos and on the website tutorials on how to fix a lantern. So all of this stuff, plus a whole bunch more, is available at oldtowncoleman.com. Go over to the sales and click on that. And I'm gearing up to sell some NOS parts and some lanterns that I've rebuilt, lanterns and stoves that I've rebuilt. I'll be selling them there. And also some, I'm calling them yard sales finds. For instance, I found a mil-spec lantern. I think it's the 1980s, but it's new in the box. And I don't think it's ever been fired. It might have been fired. I can't remember. I haven't seen it in a long time. But something got on the fountain and it ruined a lot of the paint. So rather than rebuild that or all that stuff, I'm just going to sell it in a yard sale. And I'll have the online the reduced price. I just ordered all my lantern boxes because, as we all know, shipping is the most expensive part of this hobby now when you have to buy it remotely. So I bought some boxes that are I can easily size down to what would be more appropriate for the lantern and save on costs on that. So that's something I'm just in the background getting ready, so you can look for that soon. But the merchandise is available now. Okay, babe, did we get, is Matt come back in?
He's actually had some people give him some ideas.
Okay, great.
To send to an automotive shop.
Yep.
And So I
Good
think,
deal.
he's taken care of, but
Okay,
Yeah, we're
would you
good
like to
there.
do one more question?
I have,
We are running at 40 minutes.
let's see.
Super Bowl next weekend. Not that I watch a lot of football these days, but go Rams. When I was a little kid, I used to watch Roman Gabriel. He was awesome. But that was the old Rams, not the new ones. I'll leave it at that. What else?
We just got one that came in on one of our other videos, but you might be able to spread the information. I don't know if it'll help anybody, but it says, I need a valve stem assay for a 228F. Can you recommend a source?
Yeah, the place I recommend for all parts needs is oldcolemanparts.com. They've recently changed hands, and I've kind of kept an eye on what's going on over there as I could, and it seems they're doing really well. I know they're out of a few things, but yes, if you any part you need for Coleman, that's where I would recommend going. I do have parts lanterns that I will be offering to pull parts off of them, and that's something that's coming in new on the sales portion of the website too. So I would be able to supply that at a later time, not right now because I just don't have the lanterns inventory and the parts inventory ready to go or anything like that. But oldcolemanparts.com is you should be able to do it. Okay, she went out to check the smoking fish.
Yeah.
Boy, that's really good.
Okay.
I used a brine. I used a brine that I found on Google, and doubled the amount of sugar that went into it. And boy, is it good! Oh boy, is it good! So, okay, one more question if you got it, babe.
Well, I've got 3 more actually.
You got 3 more questions. Okay, I'll do 3 more questions, and that's it. Then we'll close it out.
First of all, where can people send their pictures to be posted on the Spit and Whittle?
Oh, just send it to info@oldtowncoleman.com, and please put in the subject line that you want it to go to the Spit and Whittle Club. And
That would
it'll
be James who's asking that, I'm sorry.
James, yes. Just send it to info@oldtowncoleman.com, and in the subject line, please put down there for the Spit and Whittle Club, because a lot of people just send me pictures and tell me short stories and stuff, and I don't know if they're wanting me to share that with the world or they're sharing it with me. So yes, if you would like that, then I'm always putting those on. In fact, I just revised that today. I put different ads on it. So yeah, that's how you do it. info@oldtowncoleman.com.
And we have William, who's been looking for a March 1972 lantern, and he said he hasn't seen one for at least a year, and he wants to know, was that a low production year? Do you know?
You know what? That's funny you asked. When I bought my collection, I had 1,400 lanterns at my disposal, and if I would have had the foresight, I would have cataloged all the dates and that I had. When I I hung all of the 220s on the eaves of my roof, and I hung them in date order. So I had all that information at one time, but I have lost it, so I don't know. The best I would recommend for you is to post on the bulletin boards. A lot of bulletin boards have birthday lanterns, buy, sell, and trade, and you can find it that way. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I put out a video on Coleman collecting, and one of the lanterns I used was a 220 that was made in April of 1960. Well, that video was up for about an hour, and someone said, "That's my dad's birthday lantern," and I ended up I'm going to sell that to him. So, but the best way I know to do that is to just post on bulletin boards that you're looking for this month and this date, and hopefully you can find it. But as far as a resource where you can go to find out if that was a high or low production month, I do not know that. I know there are many months they didn't make any, but so that's the answer on that one.
He could also post, anybody can also post on our Facebook page.
Oh, sure. You
and
can go
ask
to Facebook.
followers there.
Absolutely.
So hop on there and give them a query. Okay, and this is an interesting question because we were just talking about this. Can I literally, less stuff, more freedom, wants to know, can I literally send my Coleman 500 Speedmaster stove back to Coleman in Kansas, and will they get it working perfectly for me for that fee of around $55.
The question was, can he send his 500 stove? Who asked the question?
Less stuff, more freedom.
Less stuff, more freedom. Is that like
Throw it
less
all away.
less bark, more wag, or something like that? Dog food. That's kind of cute. You know, I need to do some research on this because I just answered a Facebook post. I think it was today, or it was a YouTube today or yesterday. Someone said that it was out of the range of what Coleman would work on, and I've never heard of that. A 500 stove, they could clean the generator on it. You know, usually when they refurbish a lantern or a stove, they like to replace the generator. They're not going to do that on a 500 because I doubt if they still have any stock of the 500 generators, but they could certainly clean it because they're easy to clean. So getting an old 500 to work again, not really a problem. They may, you know, because they can't replace the generator, would only clean it. That may be why they would want to do that. But I don't know if the gentleman, when I went to factory school, the gentleman that taught me were Cliff and Roger. And I guess I'm just going to have to call out to Wichita and find out if Cliff or Roger are still working there. I'll have to find out more about your question and the other guy's question because that's significant. I mean, $55 to rebuild a lantern or stove is just a great price. Not only is that including the parts, which is probably up around 15, 20 bucks, but you know, that leaves not a lot for labor. And well, I'm to the point in my life that I would not want to work for $10 an hour to be rebuilding lanterns. Sorry about that. I would have to go well above $55. So $55 is a great price. And I was never aware before yesterday that there were any limitations on that. I mean, I can understand sending it back and say, no, we can't work on this. But as far as it's too old or something like that, it's something I'll have to find out, and I'll get back to everybody on that, maybe in one of these bi-weekly live chats. Okay?
Okay, and any tips for cleaning?
Last one, last question.
On rusty lanterns from saltwater fishing use. And have you ever done a video on tearing down a 1930s era Coleman quick light? I think that's in our...
A quick light is one of the lanterns that I still have to rebuild for a video. I'm going to do that. I have one out in the shop ready to go. As far as a lot of rust in the fount, you can go to my website and how to rebuild lanterns. And right now, until I do a little more research, it's basically the best advice I can give. It's what I used to do all the time, and it always seemed to work real well. I would just use BBs or little nuts or little bolts, stick them down the pot and just keep shaking it and rinsing it out, shaking it, rinsing it out until it comes clean. And then you could soak it with vinegar a little bit and then rinse that out with water and baking soda to neutralize the vinegar, and then use alcohol to get all of the water out of the fount. And then from there you can swirl some gasoline around just to make sure that it's all clean in there. And then hopefully if you just maintain it and keep fueling it and make sure your fuel doesn't, if it has water in it, you know, shake it around every once in a while, you should be okay. But I'm going, now that I have a camera that I can fit down inside of a fount, I'm going to be doing a video. I've got a lot of people recommending certain products work better on the inside of a fount than others, and I'm just going to find me, you know, 5 or 6 nasty founts and run some tests on it. So that's just another video I'm going to do. And oh, by the way, we're almost out of degrees in Idaho. It's been 15 or so degrees lately, and it's really cold in that shop. And my old bones just don't like that as much as it used to. I can stand out on a frozen lake all night long and fish, but to go out in the shop and actually do any work, nah, I don't really like that. So anyway, okay, is that we got one more you want?
Yeah, I'm just going to bring this up because do we have a paint color code?
No, I will not do paint color codes because I don't know what they are. What I always recommend to people is it was pretty close. The fount and the ventilator were pretty close to the same color when it came from the factory. And if you take your ventilator and clean it off and shine it up real nice, you cannot paint a ventilator. Don't even try. Don't waste your time. Just get the ventilator, take it down to the paint store and match it up with a rattle can, the lid on it, And when you paint the fount, it's going to come off really close. There are at least a dozen greens and different reds that you can use. Now there are some, and if you do a Google search, I know like on the bulletin board service that Old Coleman Parts has, Coleman Collectors Forum, there are a number of threads in there that will tell you recommendations for specific colors like the 243's blue or Gold Bonds gold. But as far as the greens and reds, it's just too hard to tell. Just take your ventilator down there, match it up to a rattle can lid, and you should be good. It'll look real nice for you. Okay?
Okay, I just, one last thing I think you should tell everybody is to please utilize the Facebook page if they would like to post pictures of their projects there for other people to comment on.
Sure,
they can
absolutely.
interact there, and I think it's a good place to meet up.
Absolutely. My Facebook page is for you. It's for us to correspond with each other and to share information, and that's what it's all about. I've said it before. I'm not the know-it-all. I don't know everything about Coleman. I've been working on them and collecting them for over 20 years now, and so I try my knowledge and my experience to newer collectors, and we share information. And that's the way we all get a little bit smarter and hopefully can keep more of the appliances burning into the future. So thank you all for joining me. We're up to 53 now. I'm not sure if that's as high as we went, but greetings from North Idaho. I hope you all have a great evening. And James Kyling doesn't have Facebook. Well, James, if you send me an email, I'll certainly be able to help you with any problem you have. And, send me your information. We'll put it on Spit and Whittle Club and find out that way. Well, one way or the other, we'll help you. And I understand you don't have Facebook, because if it wasn't for the Old Town Coleman Center, I probably wouldn't be on Facebook much either. Okay. So, well, thank you for viewing. Thank you for being here. And if you're watching this after the live feed, thank you for watching. And I will try to schedule another live feed and a couple more videos out in the next 2 weeks. So thank you. Have a good night. And don't forget, keep them burning. And now it says I'm live again.
It won't shut off.